Hey everyone, welcome back to the US Fireplace Store podcast. I'm Kieran.
And I'm River.
Hey River, how's it going today?
Good, good. Just got back from a walk. The weather's finally nice enough for it. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. So, we've been getting a lot of questions lately about ethanol fireplaces.
Yeah, they seem to be really gaining in popularity.
Yeah, and ethanol fireplaces are a really interesting option for people who want a fireplace without all the hassle.
For sure. And, a lot of people might not even know what they are, really. Could you kind of explain them for anyone listening who's not totally familiar?
Yeah, so basically they're fireplaces, but you don't need a chimney or a gas line or anything. They burn bioethanol, which is a really clean and eco-friendly fuel.
So it's like a real fireplace with real flames.
Exactly. You get the look and feel of a traditional fireplace, but without the smoke and the soot and the chopping wood and all that.
That sounds amazing. So that's our mission today. We're going to unpack everything you need to know.
We'll cover what they are, how they actually work,
The different types you can get, their heating capability, and we'll get into the specifics, the BTUs.
right? BTUs are key. Also, the cost to run them, design choices, installation.
Safety, maintenance, definitely, and how they stack up against other fireplace types.
By the end, you should have a much clearer picture of whether an ethanol fireplace fits your needs.
Okay, let's jump in. Now, I know we have some environmentally conscious listeners out there, so let's talk about the fuel itself. What is bioethanol and where does it come from?
Well, bioethanol is a type of alcohol, ethyl alcohol to be specific, that's made by fermenting plants.
Plants, huh? So what kind of plants?
Things like corn, sugarcane, wheat, agricultural crops.
Interesting. So it's a renewable energy source.
Exactly. And when it burns, it produces very little carbon dioxide and water vapor,
Yeah.
making it a much cleaner alternative to, say, burning wood or fossil fuels.
That's great. So we've got this clean burning fuel, but how does it actually create those mesmerizing flames we see in ethanol fireplaces?
Okay, so it all comes down to the process of combustion. You need three things: oxygen, heat, and fuel. In this case, bioethanol.
Got it. So you pour the bioethanol into the fireplace, and then what?
Most ethanol fireplaces have a designated burner reservoir where you pour the fuel. Then, to get the fire going, you just light it with a long lighter.
Easy enough. And can you control the size of the flames?
You usually can, yeah. Depending on the model, it might have a remote or a little slider, or even just a lid you use to sort of restrict the airflow and lower the flame.
Got it. Sounds pretty straightforward to operate. Now, you mentioned different types earlier. What are the main kinds people should know about?
Right, there are a few main categories, depending on what you need and where you'll put it. First up, you've got what they just call fireplaces.
Okay, like a traditional looking one.
Yeah, they often mimic that look, maybe with a mantle or surround, but they run on bioethanol. They're good for, say, a living room and can warm up a medium-sized space nicely.
Makes sense. That's probably the classic image. What else?
Then there are fireboxes. These are more like inserts.
Ah, so for putting into an existing fireplace opening.
Exactly. If you're renovating or have an old hearth, you want to update without the hassle of wood or gas. They come in different shapes and sizes to fit.
That's clever. Adapting old spaces.
Then you've got fire pits. These are mostly for outdoor use, as you'd expect.
Patios, gardens.
Right. They make a great centerpiece. Some are even portable, which is handy.
Oh, portable fire pits sound great for moving around the garden. Less fuss than wood.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the last main type is burners.
Burners. So just the fire part.
Essentially, yeah. Standalone units. These give you the most design flexibility. You can build them into custom projects, media walls, unique outdoor features, you name it.
Ah, okay. So for people wanting a really bespoke look.
Exactly. And some burners are rated for outdoor use, too.
So really good range of options then. Okay, let's talk heat. The big question. You mentioned BTUs. What heating power are we really looking at?
Right. And it's super important to set expectations here. These are mainly for decoration and supplemental heat.
Not your main home heating system.
Definitely not. But they do produce heat. How much depends on the design, how you run it, its purpose.
Okay, so give us some numbers. What's the typical BTU range?
For a manual ethanol fireplace, you're generally looking at somewhere between, say, 6,800 up to maybe 30,000 BTUs per hour.
6,800 to 30,000 BTUs. Okay, that's quite a spread. What about automatic models? Are they different?
They can be, yeah. Sometimes a bit higher output. They might range from that same starting point, around 6,800, but can go up to maybe 51,000 BTUs per hour. And then there are some real high-end units designed for large spaces that could apparently push out something like 170,000 BTUs per hour.
Wow, 170,000 BTUs. That's serious heat. Now, just to remind everyone, what exactly are BTUs and how do they relate to ethanol fireplaces?
BTU stands for British Thermal Units, and it's a unit of measurement for heat energy.
So the higher the BTU rating, the more heat the fireplace can produce.
Exactly. And a quick rule of thumb from the website, multiply the room's square footage by about 20 BTUs to estimate what your room might need for supplementary heat.
Square footage times 20. Okay, that's helpful. And they had a table with estimated BTUs for each type, right?
They did. Let's see. Burners, roughly 10,000 to 30,000 BTU.
Okay.
Fireboxes, maybe 10,000 up to 50,000 BTU.
Mm-hmm.
Fire pits, generally lower, like 5,000 to 30,000 BTU.
Makes sense for outdoors.
And standard fireplaces, somewhere between 8,000 and 30,000 BTU. But remember, these are just estimates. Specific models vary.
Absolutely. Good ballpark figures, though.
Uh-huh.
Now, beyond raw power, what about efficiency? How well do they use that fuel?
They're actually rated as quite efficient. Bioethanol burns very cleanly, so about 97% of the fuel's energy turns directly into heat.
97%, that's really high.
It is. And because it's so clean, you don't get soot, ash, or smoke. Minimal byproducts.
Which leads back to the no venting thing.
Exactly. No need for costly chimney installations or retrofits.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, less mess means less maintenance compared to, say, wood fireplaces. Fewer checks needed.
How does that 97% compare to wood or gas efficiency?
Well, wood fireplaces are notoriously inefficient. Maybe only 10–30% of the heat actually warms the room. Most goes up the chimney.
Yeah, you feel that draft sometimes.
Gas is much better, maybe 70–90% efficient, especially the direct vent ones.
Okay.
So that 97% figure for ethanol looks very good for getting the most heat out of the fuel you put in, especially for supplemental warmth.
Right. And how much space can they actually warm up effectively? Area coverage?
Generally, they work best in small to medium areas, indoors or some outdoor spots.
Okay.
The exact coverage depends on the BTUs of the model, fuel capacity, but also things like your room size, layout, insulation, even the current temperature.
Standard factors for any heating.
Right. And the website stresses following the manufacturer's minimum room size recommendation, often around 430 square feet, just for safety and proper heat distribution.
Mm-hmm.
For example, burners can heat up to like 1,500 square feet. Fireboxes can cover even more. And fire pits and fireplaces are a bit less.
So you can get one that's right for your space.
Exactly.
Mm.
Now let's talk about cost. How much does it cost to run an ethanol fireplace?
Yeah, that's important.
So the main cost is the bioethanol fuel. A 20-liter container costs around $60.
Okay.
And you can get a discount if you buy in bulk. Now, how long a container lasts depends on how much you use the fireplace and how you set the flame. But to give you an idea, a small burner might burn for like 6 hours on 1 liter of fuel.
And how much fuel do they actually burn through?
Depends a lot on the model, how often you use it, and how high you set the flame. So, for example, a burner might cost like $1 or $2 per hour to run.
Okay.
Fireboxes are a bit more expensive because they use more fuel, and fire pits and fireplaces are somewhere in between.
Good to know. So you definitely need to factor in that ongoing fuel cost when budgeting.
Absolutely. It's not just the upfront purchase price.
Right. Now, what about designs and installation? Are they easy to install?
Yeah, most of them are very easy to install. And there are a lot of different designs to choose from.
Like what?
First, tabletop ones. Compact, easy to move around, great as a centerpiece, indoors or out.
Nice for ambiance on a dining table or patio table.
Definitely. Then you have freestanding models. Good for larger rooms. Often put out a decent amount of heat. Lots of style options there, too.
Oh, okay.
Wall-mounted is another popular choice. Saves floor space. Looks very modern. Good for bedrooms, offices, smaller areas.
I like the sound of wall-mounted for saving space.
Yeah.
What if you have that existing fireplace opening we talked about?
That's where the inserts come back in. Perfect fit for those old cavities. Gives you the fireplace look without the wood, ash, or needing the chimney.
A modern update for an old feature.
Right. And then there are built-in ethanol fireplaces. Permanently installed.
Yeah.
Looks very seamless, very high-end and custom. But obviously you can't easily move those once they're in.
Right, a permanent fixture. Any other cool design types?
Yes, two-sided fireplaces. Viewable from both sides.
Like in a dividing wall.
Exactly. Or as a room divider itself. Great focal point for open plan spaces and can technically heat 2 areas a bit.
That sounds very dramatic.
And finally, 3-sided ones. Open on 3 sides for a really panoramic flame view. Very contemporary.
Wow, okay. So from tiny tabletop units to these big multi-sided built-ins, there's a huge range. What about rules and regulations? Any legal stuff to worry about?
Well, in the U.S., they're generally considered safe for residential use.
Okay.
so you don't usually need any special permits or anything. So usually no major legal hurdles if you install them correctly and just use them for supplemental heat. And the fuel itself, bioethanol, is legal to buy.
That's reassuring. What if you live in an apartment or a condo complex?
Good question. It's always a good idea to check with your local building codes, and you should also talk to your landlord. They might have specific rules about ventless fireplaces.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Now, what are the benefits of having an ethanol fireplace?
There are quite a few strong points. You get real flames, real warmth, great ambiance like a traditional fire. Minimal upkeep, no soot, no ash, no smoke. That's huge for a lot of people.
Definitely.
They're also seen as sustainable and energy efficient. Renewable fuel, clean burn, that high 97% efficiency rate we talked about.
Just the design flexibility.
Right. Tons of designs, customization options to fit your style. Safety features are common, like auto shutoff. And again, no vents or chimneys needed, which simplifies installation massively. Many are portable.
They sound great as a focal point for get-togethers, too.
Totally. And some even double up, like those Fireplace coffee tables. Multifunctional.
Okay, but what about the downsides? What should people consider before buying?
Need to be realistic. The heat output is lower than a primary system. Remember, it's supplemental.
Right.
The initial cost can sometimes be higher than other types, and you have that ongoing fuel cost. Safety, while good, still requires care. It is flammable fuel. Keep it away from kids and pets. And even though they're ventless, they do emit a little CO2. So you need decent airflow in the room, especially for long burns.
Good point. Fresh air is still important. Okay, let's say someone's interested. How do you actually use one, step by step?
Okay. Prepare, fuel, ignite, adjust, extinguish. First, you need to make sure the area is well ventilated and clear of any flammable materials.
Okay.
Curtains, plants, cleaning sprays, anything like that. Basic fire safety prep. Use the right fuel, high-quality bioethanol for fireplaces.
Okay.
Then you carefully pour the fuel into the burner reservoir. Don't go over the fill line. Then you light it with a long lighter or a long match. Once it's lit, many let you control the flame size and heat. Usually a lid or slider controls oxygen flow. Less oxygen, smaller flame, less heat. More oxygen, bigger flame. Let the burner cool down completely before you even think about refueling. Never refuel a hot or burning fireplace.
Very important safety tip.
To put it out, use the snuffer tool that comes with it. It's usually a metal plate you slide over the flame opening to cut off the oxygen. Fire goes out.
What about keeping them looking good? Maintenance, you said it was minimal.
It generally is. Regular basic cleaning helps. Let it cool completely first, always.
Okay.
Wipe down the outside with a soft cloth, maybe mild detergent for dust or fingerprints. Clean the burner reservoir sometimes too, same way.
What about tougher spots?
Isopropyl alcohol can work for stubborn marks. Clean any glass or metal bits too. A final polish with a microfiber cloth keeps it looking sharp.
Sounds pretty easy. Definitely less work than scrubbing soot. Okay, so if someone's ready to choose one, how do they pick the right one?
Step 1. Think about your purpose. Is it mainly for looks, ambiance, or do you really need that supplemental heat?
Purpose first. Okay.
Step 2. Look at your space. Does the style fit? Is there a safe spot away from flammables? Is the room size right, not too small for the heat output?
Assess the space. Got it.
Step 3. Consider quality and features. Look for sturdy construction, good safety features like auto shut-off. Think about extras like remote control. Do you want or need them?
Quality and features. Makes sense. So how do ethanol fireplaces compare to other types of fireplaces?
Oh, compared to wood-burning fireplaces, they're much cleaner and more efficient and easier to install.
Yeah, wood fireplaces are a lot of work.
They are. And compared to gas fireplaces, they're more portable and don't require a gas line.
Okay.
And compared to electric fireplaces, they provide real flames, which a lot of people prefer.
True. And what about those gel fireplaces?
Gel fireplaces are similar to ethanol fireplaces in that they're easy to use and don't require a chimney.
But they don't produce as much heat.
Right. They're mostly for ambiance.
So to wrap up, it seems like ethanol fireplaces are a great option for people who want a fireplace without the hassle of wood or gas.
Exactly. They're easy to use, low maintenance, and eco-friendly.
And they come in so many different designs.
Yeah, there's really an ethanol fireplace for everyone.
Okay, well, hopefully this conversation has given everyone listening a solid handle on ethanol fireplaces.
Yeah, we hope so. Remember to think about your own needs, your space, your style when deciding.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Given how flexible these are, design-wise, and the whole ventless aspect, Where in your home or maybe your patio could an ethanol fireplace create that really special focal point, something to mull over?
Definitely something to think about. If you would like to learn more, visit our website, usfireplacestore.com, or call our team at 888-992-1556.
And that's it for this episode of the U.S. Fireplace Store podcast. Thanks for listening.